Okay, as promised, here's a, I'm going to go through my building and block generation real quick, and hopefully everything loads in a timely fashion. Like I said, I haven't touched this in like a week, so I'm going to be a little confused too. But anyway, so here's my smallest parcel. That's the code for whatever. All it does is I make some little parcels, which are just little areas of land. This chooses a random one. So this is the first. Well, this is the one it chose. These might not actually randomize when I hit this. See, the trees are random. That's about it. And the reason for that is I currently have it set up using a seed system. The idea being every time you start the game, it'll randomize everything based on its location in the world. So it'll remain consistent throughout the length of that particular game. But if you start up a new game, it'll shuffle the map. So like here's a park again. That was a small. This one's a medium, which is just. I mean, they're all consistent like grid size and everything, so they snap together and all that. All the grass in this one I think is going to make it load super slow. Yeah, and all it changed was it got rid of the tree. So let's ignore that. Here's an example of a large one. The code's the same for all of them. It's just a different list of things it pulls from. So that's not a big deal. And as you can see, the large one is just two of these medium ones put together. That's what pretty much all the large ones are, is it just picks two random medium ones. Sometimes the medium ones pick two small ones, so you can get a large that's 4 small pieces, or 2 mediums, or a medium and 2 smalls, or whatever. It's completely fucking random. Let's check out my small parcels. So here's park. Here's a different park. Now this is a blueprint I made, which a blueprint in Unreal is just like visual code, and all it does is it spawns a line of walkway pieces that are then randomly like broken, or some of them are missing, as you can see, just to spice it up a little bit. I'm not too happy with the texture on these actually, but I said for proof of concept and placeholder, it's totally fine. This is a little dumpster one, you see. The dumpster stuff's random. The trash pieces are random. Sometimes there's puddles, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's some like plywood stuffed behind the little dumpster cages there. And these lights in the last version, I guess, of the game, my day-night cycle would turn. There's some plywood. At night, basically, the lights would turn on unless they're broken, and that is decided per game whether the lights are broken or not. And then later on, I would have it so you could like shoot them out, I guess, and then they would stay, shot out for the rest of the game. So here's a few more. These are some medium parcels. They're mostly parks. So you see, I got that blueprint for the tiling, floor pieces again. Blah blah blah. Very exciting, I know. Any of these interesting? I mean, there's some parking lots. I like parking lots. A lot of this is kind of constrained to like the pieces I have available. So as you can see, like I have street lights. I've bought some assets. I think I'm about $200 in the hole right now. Some of this is made, like these curbs I made. This texture is like 2 textures combined randomly, and I set that all up, that type of crap. The streetlight models were part of a pack I purchased, but like the lights and everything I set up myself. And as you can see, they're missing the glass pieces here, but I'm going to go and add those in, and that's going to be like the piece that you can shoot out to, put the lights out permanently if that's a thing you want to do. Let's check out the large parcels. I think there's just... so large parcel is basically just like a wooded, well, not wooded, but a undeveloped land, I should say. So right now everything's flat. Eventually I'm going to have like kind of like sloped map areas and stuff, and that's going to be kind of dependent on my world generation algorithm. So you can see like the trees and stuff are all placed randomly. I don't even want to compile this again because I'm afraid it will take a while. And like these little things, what am I looking at here? Like this little pile of rocks here. I think there's like there's a tree stump. That type of stuff is like scattered around randomly, but it should remain consistent throughout the game. So that's my parcels. Let's check out my buildings. So this I went from having like 6 blueprints for buildings down to 1. This looks like a huge mess, but I'll walk you through this real quick because I know at least Zach is interested in this. So I have a function here called roll materials. Now what this does is I set all of the materials each piece of the building can use, and it picks them out of a hat. This one sets the facade. We got the sides, and then each of these also chooses a color if it's applicable. So we got the inside floor and then the inside like wallpapers. There's a different one that just sets them. That's another function. This sets all of the materials to whatever was chosen in the earlier one. So one of the issues I had when I first started trying to do this was getting all of the buildings to maintain like the same brickwork and stuff throughout the building because it's made up of 3 separate pieces. So this fixes that. It took me a while to figure out. As I mentioned in an earlier video, the interiors are random, but you can see the random wallpaper color here. If I turn off the lighting, you can see it's kind of like a purple. And you can notice like the wood and the interior here. Like this is a barricaded building, which is just one of the handful of interiors I've made so far. But if you go upstairs, you can see wood floors. Yeah, well, there's only 2 floors. But everything's consistent, and that was important because what I had earlier when I first started trying to do this was like you'd have brick on the bottom floor and then like plaster on the top, and it looked ridiculous. The colors, I think they're a little bright as far as the random colors go. Like this purple's a little ridiculous, or pink, or whatever it is. But in game, with the way the lighting is and everything, it looks fine. Now, when I compile this, it should just give me another random building. This one blueprint handles all of my buildings now. I originally had it spread out into separate building types, but now what I'm doing is building all of the buildings in the blueprint. And I basically can set it to either pick one randomly, or I can choose it from a list when I place it in the map. So if I want a specific building in a specific place, I put the same object in here, go to my little drop down and say building A or store A or whatever, and I can set how many floors it is. I can set it to randomize, but say, like, okay, this needs to be between 2 and 10 stories tall, for example, and it'll spawn. It'll look right in game. Basically, everything will spawn appropriately. Here we go. Yeah, so this building actually isn't going to randomize because it's still set on that seed thing. But as you can see, the wallpaper changed color. That's not based on where the object is in the world. So I guess, yeah, you can see the interior switch too. So that's one example anyway. Let me see if I can figure out a better way to show that off. Actually, if I do my parcels here, I think. No, I don't think that's going to do it. It's kind of based on my world generation, how it's set up right now. Right now, everything's going to look the same in the editor, which kind of sucks. But when you actually get in game, it switches up. So this might work here because this is just a building of this one type, but in a random, but randomized. This was because some of the buildings are different sizes. So if I wanted to have them connect to like a sidewalk here, I couldn't just have them like spawn a random building. I guess I could set a list of buildings that it could possibly spawn or something like that. Just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. So for now, this works. I might simplify this down the line, but I'm going to hit compile, and we should get like the same building type, but with different stuff on it, maybe. So we got a different interior, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, it's doing the interiors. That's something. Yeah, it looks like the wallpapers and the materials are going to be the same now, doing it this way. I think the only, no, the material color is changing. You know what? I know a better way to show this. Let's just get a large parcel, and then what we'll do is just drag it around in the world, and that'll show like every possible, you know, thing, because it's based on where it is in the world for the purpose of consistency. I'm going to see if I can find like other ways to do this, but for right now, this is a good example here. I want to turn off the FPS real quick. If, you know, it wants to... Oh, crap. I just realized what I did. I'm still on my main game level here, so when I hit play, it's going to kind of like screw with things. Not a big deal. Just irritating. Alright. So anyway, so here's a parcel. Oh, and the lighting is actually not held within this. So let's see if I drag it over, see how it's changing. These are all types of randomized different layouts. I should have started with this. You know, I'm going to make a new video, and I'm going to start with this. You can watch this one if you want more detail, but I'm going to make a very short video of this, just so people can kind of see what's going on here. Thanks for watching this. If you did, you lonely, lonely man. Am I even still recording? Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, depending on whether you actually watched any of my other videos, this could be part 3, or, I don't know, shit, it could be part 6. I'm showing off my world generation here, and this is, I'll do a quick rundown, in case you haven't watched the other ones. These blocks here, these are small parcels. What I have here is one large parcel, and you can see how it's split up, actually. Now, a large parcel is made up of 2 medium parcels, but a medium parcel can be made up of 2 small parcels. So it's the ultimate in randomization. So what I'm going to do here is drag my parcel around so you can see the different possibilities. I don't know why the floor is, I guess I got to raise that building up a little bit. So you can see the possibilities of the randomization here. Now, the thing is, when I move it like an inch, it's going to totally reset everything. So, for example, here's one medium parcel of a park next to a medium parking lot parcel, ironically. So let's drag that over, and now we got, looks like 2 medium parcels of different buildings. Now you see the interior here. There's basically a handful of different interior textures and exterior textures, and then there's different, did I do these backwards? Oh, this is the back of the building. Oh, okay, this one got rotated, I'm sorry. So this is actually the front, that's why the living room's back here. Anyway, there's different living room sets. This building does not have any other furniture. This particular building type just has a few different living room sets I made like a week ago. This one has kitchens and living rooms, and those are chosen randomly so that they get mixed up. If it's like barricaded, they'll all be barricaded, stuff like that. So let's try this again. So look, here's a different building, broken window, furniture. Then we got our little parking lot with some dumpsters. Now, a lot of this stuff works out pretty nicely in game. If you've seen any of my little gameplay videos, well, not gameplay, but check out my world videos. Like it makes an interesting playground, basically. I want to eventually, I want these buildings to be like more decrepit and more ruined. That's mostly going to be material work, but actually I'm going to do some stuff with like collapsed ceilings and make things look a little more wrecked. Like the setting for the game is going to be like, some sort of nuclear disaster type thing. Basically it's Stalker. I'm not going to lie. If you like Stalker, you'll be like, oh yeah, this dude's trying to make like a weird urban version of Stalker, and that's basically what I'm trying to do. I love Stalker's wide open Ukrainian wilderness, but I would love to see the same type of game set in like an American city, and that's kind of basically what I'm going for here. Yeah, so these little parcels I like handmade, but they have little randomized elements, like real small stuff that no one's gonna notice but me. Like the dumpsters are a little random in like their positioning, and like the type of trash that spawns is randomized. The plant scatters randomized, of course, because who's gonna sit there and place hundreds of shrubs down on their own? For what purpose? As long as there's plants there, you know, I doubt anyone's gonna be like, oh hey, last time I was here, there was a weed in that corner, and now there's a different weed. Immersion broken. This game is garbage. Yeah. I guess it's spawning something pretty big right now. This is taking a second. Or maybe I just had the gall to try to move it too far. Yeah, here it is. So like this grass actually, it takes a minute to spawn. Now it doesn't do that in game when the level loads or anything, so it's fine. Like this is a good mix here. You got a little open thing with some trees, and you got like the little park area. I just got to really come up with more little areas that can be stitched together. I want as much variation as possible. Like you shouldn't, you're going to see the same areas. That's just a fact of procedural generation. The longer it takes you to notice that you're seeing the same areas, the more effective they are. Like you want to be fooled into thinking like, oh, these are all, you know, these areas are all super unique and blah blah blah, and this looks like it was placed by hand. Like, I don't. That might happen. I think it's one of those things where, like, if you play through the game once, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize that was totally randomized, you know? I guess that's the real goal. Like, you shouldn't be able to tell that it's a bunch of pieces put together. But, you know, most games are that for the sake of development costs and time and everything. Even games that are hand-built, like, for example, Fallout 4 and all the other Bethesda games, they're made out of little pieces that are hand placed together, which is, I'm getting a lot of parks here, which is kind of what I'm doing on like a grander scale, because I want my world to be different every time. I'm not content with just having like, you know, a few pieces be random, because I actually toyed with the idea of having a big stalker like wilderness with like pockets of random areas, as far as like, oh look, you know, the first time I played the game there was for example, a military base over in this section here, but the next time I played it was a shopping mall, you know, stuff like that. I want the whole thing to be a confusing maze when you first start it, and the only way that you gain mastery over the environment is by continuing to explore it. And one of the elements of that is going to be some sort of like mapping. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it exactly. I might just have like a GPS mapping system thing, but you're only going to see areas you've been to. So like, you'll see the border, because the idea is the area of the game is going to be kind of like cut off from the rest of the world. On one side, that's going to be from water. On the other side, it's going to be from a military cordon. So part of the game is going to be finding out how to get into the zone itself, as far as making decisions on what type of gear you can bring based on your method of entry. So like, you could try to bribe the border guards, but if you do that, they're not going to let you run in there with an assault rifle. You could try to go through the sewers, but if it's raining, that would be too dangerous because they flood. Stuff like that. And they're, you know, it's all going to have some sort of, probably going to have some sort of resource or time cost. Well, it's all going to have a time cost. You know, kind of like a risk versus reward thing. Like the easiest way is going to be the most expensive, or the most resource intensive. What else? Oh, so anyway, back to how that relates to what I'm talking about here. Some of these map areas are going to be entrance or exit points, into and out of the zone. So you'll have things like drainage tunnels, sewers, maybe just even like underground, I don't know, steam tunnels. I heard they have those under some colleges and stuff, that you can use to like kind of sneak in and out. But you'll have to find them. Like you'll have one from the beginning. Like I'm not sure, you might start out in the zone already and be kind of like lost and have to figure out how to get to the outside world, and that might be like the beginning of the game. Like get acclimated to what you're getting into. If you can survive the first, day or few hours and get out of the zone, then you can figure out like what you're doing here. Like, are you scavenging for supplies to sell, blah blah blah. But another part of the game is going to be finding these entrances, because ideally you'll be getting missions like, oh hey, I need somebody to go recover this thing in this area and it needs to be done within this time limit. Well, if you were to just go in through the normal channels, you might not be able to make that time limit. Like there could be a radiation storm or acid rain or, a mutant rampage or whatever, something blocking your progress through certain areas. So it'd either be really time intensive or too dangerous to go that way. So what you would do is you'd find these different exits into and out of the zone, mark them down on your map or whatever, and then they would be open to you for the rest of the game, unless there's like some sort of weird circumstance, like, oh, this city block fell into the earth or something. I don't know. Just tossing stuff out there. But yeah, so like that would help you to be able to get closer to your goals sooner. You might find out like, oh hey, there's a military patrol that's going to be in this section of the city today. Like maybe you spend some resources and you some of the other stalkers or whatever are like, oh hey, we heard a rumor the military's doing a drill in this area. Well, you'll want to avoid that area because they tend to shoot on sight. So the way to do that would be to go through one of your other exits that you found earlier to get to your goal, and then you could probably go back out the same way unless something shitty happens. Yeah, kind of that idea I pretty much stole from Escape from Tarkov. I like how they do that. They have all these different exits on the map, and the first time you play the game, you have no idea like where anything is, and that's fine. Except you really have no idea. You basically got to ask other players, which is impossible as there's no in-game chat. So you pretty much got to look up on like Wikipedia or whatever, like how to get out of certain maps, which that's kind of stupid. But I set this furniture to be too low a draw distance. Oh, that's because you're never going to be able to get in here. That's why. Never mind. Yeah. So anyway, so you should have some sort of like persistent ability to track where things are, and you could add your own notes to the map or whatever, I guess, like, oh hey, I found a cool stash of items here, but I don't have enough space to carry them all out, so maybe I'll just come back later, or like, oh, there's a mutant nest over here I want to avoid, stuff like that. And then you go back to your little home base in the outside world and get your missions or whatever, like, oh, I need to go help some dude's buddy who's stranded out in this area. Well, oh, I just happen to have found a subway tunnel that leads really close to there, so I can just go through the subway, pop up there, get the guy, and get out, no problem. It's like that type of thing. The alternative would be like, oh, I got to trek from all the way from the border 3 miles into deep into the zone and hope I just don't come across anything hostile or whatever. So yeah, that's one of the big features that I'm intending to get in here. As far as like the big features go, they're pretty much randomized world, which includes like random NPC placement, random mutants, that type of stuff. Well, the mutants may or may not be random. I'm still thinking about that. But you'll never know where they're going to be the first time you play. Like, this building is never going to spawn the same things. You're not going to see a building and be like, oh, I know when I see this building, it has this. Like, it might have a higher chance of having that thing that you're looking for, but it's not going to ever be a guarantee, I don't think. Maybe for, like, quest items and stuff, if that's a thing. Because, like, you know, say you need a, I don't know, part of a satellite dish or something. Well, you know what has lots of satellite dishes? Aside from people's, you know, apartment rooftops? Radio station. So maybe you go, oh, I'll just hit a radio station. Well, do you know where a radio station is? Not until you've explored a little bit. And even then, that might only be good for, like, you know, it might be useful to you for one quest. You might never get that quest in that particular playthrough, because the quests are going to be kind of randomized and dynamic too. So basically, stalker, roguelike, survival horror, first person. I don't want to call it a first person shooter because I'm going to really de-emphasize the shooting part. As much as I love shooters and guns, I'm going for more of like a, you know, atmospheric horror exploration game though. So we'll see what happens. That's a cute layout. I like that little park here next to this store with the crappy wallpaper peeling off. I'm probably gonna fix up that material. I'm not too happy with it. It's a good placeholder though. The power of Unreal. But yeah, that's it for now. I was planning this to be like a 5-minute video, but I get super excited about this crap, as you can tell. So like, I don't think any of my videos has been under like 10 minutes, and I've done like 3 or 4 of them today, trying to show off different things. They all just kind of go into the same topic, I'm sure. But if you love my soothing baritone voice, you know, stay tuned, I guess. I don't put these on YouTube because I can't figure it out because I'm 30 and I'm too old for this crap. But I finish up my last day of the last semester I'm doing for now for school. I'm going for game design. Not that that's helped me at all with this. The only thing I've learned in school in 3 semesters is how to use Maya, which I could have learned on YouTube in an hour. But anyway, I'm going to have a lot of time, and I'm planning to devote it pretty much all to working on this project and getting it off the ground. And I'm praying that I can have a playable gameplay demo within the next year. I think that's very achievable. At least something I can put out to my friends to be like, hey, break this game for me. Does it even run on your crappy computer? I'm not doing early access because I think that's bullshit. I'm not going to have this game like 10% done and then try to get people to buy it because I don't buy games like that. I don't think anyone should. I think it's one of those things that's kind of like giving early access a bad name. Here I go on different topics again. Yeah, I say a lot too. I don't think about these things before I do them, so this is just off the cuff, if you can't tell. If you know me, you know how I talk. Early access, yeah, fuck that. I think there's been one game that successfully pulled off early access, and that was Darkest Dungeon, because they released a basically complete game with, you know, they just didn't finish the final 2 levels or whatever until like a year into it, which is totally fine. That game fucking rules. If I do get up to that, what I'm going to end up doing is releasing a complete game in early access, maybe for a little cheaper than when it's like done. And I'm planning to keep this on the cheap side. I've spent some money on this, but you know, I'm a simple man with simple needs. This isn't gonna be like a $60 fucking game because I don't pay that much for games myself. If I see something on Steam, I think typically, depending on how much time I think I can get out of it, $15 to like $30 is generally my limit. and I intend to keep this in that budget. Basically, anything I make on this is going to be profit, though, so it doesn't. I could fucking charge a penny for it, and I'm sure I could make back my money. Off topic, though. Anyway, if I were going to do this early access, it would be a complete game, and then what I would do is I would just keep adding more creatures, I would keep adding more quests, and I would keep adding more map pieces and stuff. But I really don't think I want to do that. I kind of want it to be like the complete game when it's done. Because, you get one chance to make a first impression, and if I were to release what you're seeing now with no gameplay, and people do this, I don't know if you follow early access games or that type of culture or whatever, there are plenty of people who will release 10% of the work I've put into this so far and will put it up on Steam or some other video game online distributor and say like, oh, hey, I'm working on this game, but, buy it now, even though I have nothing to show except that you can walk around and look at a fucking tree. Fuck that shit. You can walk around and look at fucking buildings and also open doors and lights that turn on and off depending on the time of day. And still, that's not a fucking game. That's not worth spending money on. I don't give a shit that I spent fucking 40 hours or whatever. I probably spent more than that on this. I might be a few hundred hours in at this point. Anyway, that doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is having something that's worth your fucking money to play. And, I don't give a shit how much time I spent on it. If it's not worth it to play, then I could not possibly sell it. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how much fucking effort and sweat and tears I put into this. Shit. Alright, I better end this now. It's already 20 minutes. I planned for this to be like a 5-minute fucking video to show off some features. I might start doing more of these. I don't know. They're kind of fun. I might, if I can figure it out, I want to put these up on YouTube or some shit. I don't really want to, I don't want to be one of those, things that, sets up hype for a fucking project and never follows through on it, though. I intend to finish this. I fully fucking intend to finish this. I've started a lot of projects and not done anything with them before, and this one has already eaten up more time than any of those, all those combined, I think. And once I hit the point where I start putting money into something, it's a done deal. I'm like, you know what? I've already wasted time and money on this. I need to finish it. And I've had this idea brewing for easily 2 years now. This isn't even the first iteration of this. The original iteration of this was a roguelike I made in Game Maker that I'd also never finished. Part of the reason for that, as much fun as it was to program everything from the ground up, which is what I'm kind of doing with this, I'm buying some packs to just ease the burden on me because I'm one man. I want a playable game. I don't need to program every single thing on my own. That's ridiculous. Not when I can just spend $100 and get a preset skeleton framework of a game, Anyway, yes, this isn't the first iteration. The original was a roguelike top-down game that was actually going to be this. It was going to be a top-down stalker thing where you run around a randomized world, also have to get in and out of the border to get into the zone. That one actually was more advanced than this one, but because it was, a top-down roguelike, the graphics were 2D tiles, so it could afford to have more advanced systems in it. The more I worked on it and then took a break from it for whatever reason, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized, yeah, these systems are cool, but do they make a fun or interesting game? And maybe they did, but I was never going to finish it anyway. So I moved over to Unreal, and I kind of started off with the idea of I was like, okay, I want to do that same game I was going to make, a hardcore simulationist survival game in an abandoned city full of mutants and shit. There are elements of that, of course, that fucking survived, but a lot of that shit was pared down in the sake of having a fun game, because I play a lot of those simulationist survival games. They're not typically much fun. I don't play them for very long, but you know what I do play? Stalker, and I play it a lot, and I play it often, and I've played it since it came out in like 2006. Um, just and that game it's one map pretty much. The map never changes, but the situations do, and even like everything else in that game supports it enough to make that still fun because you never know what the hell you're going to encounter or see when you're playing it, which is amazing to me that a game that fucking old can pull that off. Whether that was intentional or just happenstance, whatever it was, there haven't been really any games since that have done that, or at least that I know about that have held my attention. And I have the shortest fucking attention span, which is why I have to play games that are randomized. Um, I don't even know. But anyway, so that's what I intend for this. I want a game that I will be be able to play over and over again, and it'll always give me new situations to deal with, and stories to tell. If you don't play Stalker, you don't know, but there's like forums and shit, and people they just love telling their fucking stories. Like, oh man, I was in this area and this thing happened, and I've never seen that before, and that shit happens even with a game that you've been playing every year for 10 fucking years. That it still has shit that's worth talking about. You still see new things almost every time you play it. It's insane, and that was all handcrafted by a couple of fucking Ukrainians squatting in a basement and drinking vodka on no budget. So, oh, okay, they actually had made games before, but nothing like that. But still, that's the type of experience I want to recreate. Just keep your fucking interest, keep my interest, because if a game can keep my interest, I think that's a fucking feat. Not a lot of games keep my interest, and I've played a shit ton of games in my lifetime. There's a handful that I will play over and over again for one reason or another, but I really don't like most video games. I'm getting into game programming, and I am probably more critical of video games than anything else. Like fucking Quake, Castlevania 4, Thief the Dark Project, The Stalkers, and XCOM are the only games I give a shit about. Everything else can go fuck off because none of them are even really worth. They might be worth playing one time. I'll give them that. A lot of games I played, they were worth it for one playthrough. That was it. I want a game that fucking lasts, and without being multiplayer too, because multiplayer games, that's a whole different animal. Those are they're mostly always going to be different every time you play, just because humans. But to be able to have different fucking environments, different events and that type of shit, all these different elements mixed together to make a whole unique experience every time, and that's just that's wonderful. That's how fucking war games should be. I get there's a big focus on narrative based games these days, which if you ask me is really stupid, because I don't give a shit about the stories in games, movies, anything. I'm a total visual, I just want to see cool shit. And that's, I don't know if that's going to carry over into this. I've considered, as far as contracting out bits of my game go, I'm more than likely going to hire someone to do music for it. Probably going to need someone to do sound effects, because I have very minimal sound experience. And I might even get somebody on board to work a story into it or something, or oh, there's a rare porta potty. Those don't come up very often on the parking lot there. Yeah, I might hire someone to work a story in and maybe do some writing for quest lines and stuff like that, because I want them to be mostly random and procedural, but they need to be fucking cohesive. And it'd be nice if they created. Actually, this is just off the top of my head right now. It'd be nice if you did a quest, and then that had different branches, maybe depending on your performance in the quest, or it could just be a fucking toss of the dice. That could branch off into other quests, and maybe you do the same quest twice in two different games, but they each branch off into separate quests, this one leads to this one. Oh, but next time I did the game, it led to this one. and that type of stuff. That'd be really cool. Um, just to keep things interesting, you know. Like, there's nothing more boring than, like, I love Stalker. And as much as I don't like story in games, I do like doing quests though. Like, I need to have some sort of motivation other than survive, which is why I ditched the idea of making it a hardcore survival crafting game, because not a lot of those are very fun. I checked that. You can see the flies on the dumpster I put in here. Where'd they go? They're hard to see. There they are. Little fly particle effect. I love that. You need to have quests, and you need to be able to keep getting quests. Like, you need an objective. And even if it's something as simple as, like, hey, go find this thing. Like, I don't want them to all be that simple. I mean, but as far as, like a lot of them are probably going to be go to area, get thing. Like, that's, as far as fucking video games go, and especially a game like this, that's kind of like a shooter, basically. I can't imagine how complicated or varied such quests could be, because even the new Stalker mods, they have like kind of randomized quests, and they basically boil down to lead person to location, get item for person, or kill thing at location. Yeah, actually, I think that is all of them. There's some like storyline shit that's separate, but like as far as the dynamic quests go, that's all there is, and it's a start. I think that's a good launching point. I think there's more you can do with it, but unfortunately, I don't have the answer to what that more is right now. When I find it out, I'll put it in my game, because I do want the shit to be like more interesting than just go to place, press button, return for your reward. I mean, if you look at the history of games, pretty much every RPG boils down to that, though, and I'm wondering if that's just because, I mean, if it works, it works. If it seems different enough and it seems interesting, sure. If people want to do that, okay, cool. Whatever, there'll be plenty of that, I'm sure, as filler, but like, I'd like something more substantial, something more, something that the player has more of like, you want the player to have an effect on their world, right? Like, otherwise it's like, why are you there? You're just an observer, like, but you're the protagonist, you know. In this world, you're not the fucking protagonist, though. You're just another asshole who's in there, you know, looking for loot and rare radioactive artifacts to sell to scientists or whatever. Or maybe you do have a story. I don't know. Maybe you're there to avenge your fallen comrades, or, you know, maybe you have amnesia and you have a message telling you to kill yourself on your fucking your phone, and you're like, what's this all about? And then you're like, oh wait, I left that message to myself to help me figure out why I have amnesia, or something like that. Anyway, holy shit, I've made like an hour's worth of these videos, and I was planning to do like maybe 10 minutes, but if fucking going on for an hour about my project is any indicator of my level of passion for it, then, you know, I guess that's a good sign. I think it's a good sign. I really did not intend for these videos to be this fucking long. Anyway, if you did watch this, I want any and all fucking input, like any ideas, anything like that. I'm always looking for, you know, of course I'm always looking for contributors, or if you know anyone who'd be interested, like, let me know. Let me know that you watched the video, even, because goddamn, dude, like, I don't think I could listen to myself talk for half an hour. I'm going to go back and listen to all these videos and make sure they came out, but Jesus Christ, like, who the fuck wants to listen to me talk for an hour? If you watch this, then you're like gotta be one of my best friends, or just super interested in this fucking game or something. Oh look, here's that random. I call this the rare porta potty. This is actually a lot. This is a separate item that randomly can spawn on streets and stuff. It's a little pothole fixing operation here. And then when I actually get around to adding items and loot and shit, you know, that bag could have like tools or something that you could grab. Nice looking porta potty. I didn't make that, of course. Doesn't matter. It still looks good. If it fits the game, that's all I care about. Anyway, thank you so much. If you fucking watch this, let me know, because you're a trooper. John out.